Hey, welcome back to Snapbolt Games. My name's Max, and I'm here going to talk about the top 5 commons from the newest Magic the Gathering set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. And as you can see, it's a set based entirely on Dungeons and Dragons, which is something they've never done before. So, pretty exciting stuff. And again, I'm going to talk about the top 5 commons and my reasoning behind that. But before I get into that, let me shout out my channel real quick. It's youtube.com/snapbolt. There's going to be a link in the description below. You can go to the channel, you can check it out. Lots of modern gameplay, lots of Pauper gameplay on there. If you like my content, if you like this video, consider supporting me by subscribing to the channel. You can throw a like on this video and you can comment down below. All that helps me out, and any of it I appreciate, so thank you so much. Now, let's just get right into it. Briefly, I'm going to just go over this and then we're going to get right into the top 5. So, this set is sort of a core set. Something they're kind of switching it up with how they're releasing sets, but this is a core set. It's going to be a little less powerful than the other sets they've been releasing because it's kind of geared towards newer players. It's not as complicated. So that being said, the set is pretty underwhelming. I had to even stretch it to get to my top 5. So the top 5, especially number 5, is going to be pretty rough. Once you get up to number 2 or number 1, they're kind of playable cards, but it's nothing like Modern Horizons 2, where there's all these cards to build around and play. So, yes, it's a little underwhelming, but I think that's actually a good thing because from previous sets like Modern Horizons 2 and Throne of Eldraine, the power level of the set in general was so high. And I think it's better if we start bringing it back down. And yeah, there's going to be a little lull when you go from high power level to low. But I think for the longevity of the game, it's going to be worthwhile. Okay, that being said, let's just move on, get right into the top 5. Like I said, let's go with number 5. All right, number 5 on the list is Silver Raven, if I can talk. And this is a 1 blue, 1/1 flying. And when it enters the battlefield, scry 1. So this is kind of like Fairy Seer. It's a 1 blue, 1/1 flying. That's a fairy, which is a plus side, and you get to scry 2 on Fairy Seer. So you might say, well, this is just worse than that. But of course, this is an artifact. Excuse me. This is a bird, so that isn't as good as being a fairy, not close. But again, it was tough to find something I wanted to put on my number 5. I have some other cards I want to talk about that were going to be honorable mentions, but I'm just going to do another video talking about the set. Just a bunch of quote unquote playable cards or cards that could do something in a separate video. So I saved all my honorable mentions just to kind of break it up. So why is this number 5? Artifact creature is huge. I could see some type of deck wanting this, depending on what happens with bans with affinity. If you just Silver Raven on 1, that could be better than Wellspring, or not Wellspring. What's it called? That card that I don't like that much. The 1 blue enters the battlefield, scry 2, and then 1 blue and 3, 4 mana total, sack, draw 2. The Well or whatever. This could be better than that in certain situations because for 1 mana, the same initial cost, you get the 1 mana 1/1 flying scry 1 instead of just scry 2. So you can still try to hit land drops with the scry 1, but then this could be in some type of affinity deck that you want to like commit to the board. Like maybe your affinity deck, but you play Ninja of the Deep Hours too. I've even already seen people like Weber trying to do that. So this could be a card for that deck. Blue red affinity, like with Ninja, maybe with Spell Stutter Sprite. This could be a role player in that deck. Again, I had to really stretch for number 5, so that was kind of rough. Okay, let's keep this video short. Let's just move right along. My number 4 common for Pauper from Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, Boots of Speed. This is a nice one. 1 red artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste and equip for 1. So this is the cheapest effect of this type that we've seen yet at common. This is a really good rate. 1 red and then equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste, equip 1. I'm not sure what this would do right away, but I already again see if a Tog stays legal, this could do something. It's a 1 red equipment, and then all your creatures for 1 get haste. That's pretty good, giving your Mirror Enforcers, making them like 5/4 hastes, but also it's just a combo with a Tog essentially because you just go play it, give your Tog haste for 1 mana. A Tog only costs 2. attack, and then you can even sack this plus all your other artifacts to a Tog. So you just like fling your Tog like with haste basically with boots of speed. I don't know if it's good enough, but again, I had to stretch pretty far for these top five. There's not even that much that's really playable from the set, so I'm doing top five, and it is what it is. Boots of speed, +1/+1 has haste. It reminds me of this card, Crystal Slipper. This is essentially the exact same card, except this costs 2 mana. This sees no play, but this is such a massive difference. 1 mana versus 2, literally double the cost, and 1 is just so much less than 2. I can't stress that enough. This costing 2 just really, I think, makes it essentially unplayable. There's other effects that give haste that might be better than both of these, but number 4, Boots of Speed. Maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Raven should even be above Boots, but again, the bottom of the list is the bottom of the list, so it is what it is. Let's just move right on to number 3. Number 3 common for Pauper, Priest of Ancient Lore. This card is actually pretty sweet. 1 white and 2 for a 2/1 Dwarf Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life and draw a card. And white typically doesn't just get straight up card draw like this, and the life gain plus card draw is nice. Maybe in like an ephemerate deck, you might want some number of these cards. Being a 2/1, yeah, there might be better options, but cards like Phyrexian Rager, even though they're falling off a little bit, they still see some play. Elvish Vision, or not Elvish Visionary, Llanowar Visionary, the 1 green and 2/2/2, where you can tap to add green. Yeah, Visionary is better than this, but this is pretty close to something like Phyrexian Rager, because instead of losing a life, you gain 1 and you draw a card, but you lose 1 toughness. So this is almost on the power level of Phyrexian Rager, and that could see some play. Again, right now, the way the format is, this is not going to see any play, but I'm just like talking about this format as if bans were to happen and Chatterstorm wasn't really a thing. So 3 mana 2/1, enters the battlefield, gain 1, draw. Not bad. This just replaces itself. If you start flickering it with other stuff, you start gaining a little life, gaining more advantage. But you know, there's cards that do this that are probably better, that are going to see play in similar decks. So I wouldn't even like really, hold my breath for this to see a bunch of play. But it's where we're at right now. It's my number 3 card. Moving on, number 2. What's my number 2 card? Let's go. It's Dawnbringer Cleric. This one's actually pretty good. And I was looking through the entire list of the commons, and then I was like saying to myself, I was like kind of putting cards off to the side that I thought maybe could make the list when I was like, trying to put the top 5 together. And I put this card on there, and I was like, well, it's not that good actually. It's modal, maybe it's a good sideboard card. But then I was like, maybe it's actually better than I think now that I'm actually looking at the card. Because look at it. Let me read it first. 1 white and 1, human cleric, 1/3. When it ETBs, you gain 2 life, or you destroy an enchantment, or you exile a card from a graveyard. You get to choose one of those 3 effects. That's really good modality from a 2 mana 1/3. And look at this card. This card sees play right now in Black-White Pestilence, a Ration Cleric. 2 mana 1/3 ETBs, gain 3. You don't have any modes to choose from. Look at the comparison between Dawnbringer Cleric and a Ration Cleric. This is a card that sees play in one deck right now. Sometimes. It's pretty loose, but it does see some play, and it sees some play in sideboards. 2 mana 1/3 ETBs, gain 3. This is 1 mana 1/3 gain 2. Yeah, that's worse, but then having the option to destroy an enchantment or exile a card from a yard is so much value. And if you are some type of ephemerate deck, this could just really like wreck Boggles. You're like flickering it, destroying enchantments, maybe gaining like extra life against burn. So I was thinking maybe this is just a sideboard card, but it actually might just be a fine main deckable card, just because, again, of the modality, getting to destroy like Journey to Nowheres, stuff like that, exile key cards against Tron from their graveyard. This actually does way more than I think, and like the more I'm talking about it, I'm kind of getting more hyped on it. So Dawnbringer Cleric, number 2. And number 1, this set might not even be that easy to guess, but I'm actually pretty hyped for this card. I'm excited to try it out. I'm going to try to test it as soon as I can, and that is Deadly Dispute, number 1 card from Adventures of the Forgotten Realms for Pauper. Let me read it. 1 colorless, 1 black, 2 mana total, instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. So you might be saying, why is this that good? It's just like a bad Village Rites, basically. Costs more than Village Rites. Yes, that's true, but let's think about this again in the context of Affinity. I don't know what's going to be banned. So if like all the bridges get banned, this gets a little bit worse. But I think this seems pretty sick. I'm always looking for another really solid card advantage engine in Affinity, and I think this might be the best choice. Because look at this. 2 blue instant, you have to sack an artifact or creature as an additional cost. That might look like a downside, but if you just play 3 or 4 Ichor Wellsprings and 3 or 4 copies of this card, plus you play Chromatic Star, you have a lot of great sack outlets that actually are just good to sacrifice that you draw extra cards from. And then you're drawing 2 cards and creating a treasure token. Treasure token is also an artifact. So you're drawing cards, like imagine your 2 mana divination, you sacked a Chromatic Star, that drew you a card, didn't cost you really anything except 1 mana for, a little bit of setup, or Ichor Wellspring even getting more card advantage. Then you're drawing 2 cards and you're progressing your board because you're making a treasure, maybe getting up to 7 artifacts. I guess most of the time you're sacking an artifact, but still, all of that, on top of all of that, it even can just sacrifice your creatures in response to removal to draw 2 and make a treasure. That's so much. A draw 2, make a treasure in Affinity seems so good with a Tog, because now your kind of Thoughtcast effect is also making an artifact. I'm just stoked to play with this card. I actually don't hate the art either. The art's kind of cool. So #1 card for Pauper, Deadly Dispute. I'm stoked to brew with this one. It's like way higher than any other card on the list. And let's just go through the top 5 again, and then we'll wrap up this video. So #5 on the list was Silver Raven. #4, Boots of Speed. #3, Priest of Ancient Lore. #2, not a Ration Cleric, Dawnbringer Cleric. #1, Deadly Dispute. And that is my top 5 commons from Adventures of the Forgotten Realm. I hope you liked this video. Let me know what you think of my top 5. I kind of just had to put this list together. Before I go, I did want to say one thing. If you watch this video till now, just try it. I mean, you might want to do it on the next set because you've seen my video, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But when the next set comes out, or even on this set, just honestly sit down and try it. Just tell yourself, like, I'm gonna make a top 5. It's actually harder than you think when you're sitting down to do it. At first, like, I'd listen to top 10 lists and I'd be like, sure, these people are making calls on what's the best. But then when you sit down and you actually have to read all the cards and make decisions, what goes where, it gets much, much harder. And it's fun. So I, kind of urge all of you, just sit down, make a top 5 list for this set, make it for the next set. And it's fun. And it's more difficult than you think. So it's a good time. So give it a try and let me know what your top 5 is. Okay, thanks so much. Channel, youtube.com/snapbolt. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.